Hi, I'm James Brookes, and welcome to From the Factory Floor, a conversational podcast about all things startup and tech, brought to you by the folks at tsf.tech. So obviously this is our introductory episode, so we'll have to see how this goes. My name's James Brookes, I'm the head of projects at the Startup Factory, and today I'm the host from the Factory Floor podcast. So with me today I've got two guests to really speak about how we've come to this decision to make a podcast, what we do, and what you can expect going forward. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Guy Remond and Ian Brookes. So chaps, if you'd like to do a quick introduction of who you are.
Okay, my name's Guy Remond. I'm a non-exec at the Startup Factory and get involved in all things marketing and one or two other things as well. Over to Ian.
Well, thanks for that, Guy. So I'm Ian Brookes, co-founder of tsf.tech, actually born in Manchester, 2 miles from where Johnny Marr was actually born. There's a blue plaque on the wall. That's for Johnny, not for me, obviously. Yeah, that's for Johnny. You're a bit better guitarist than me. My background, spent all my career in professional services, bit of a maths geek, accountant at heart, love numbers, but then spent 20 years in and around tech services. And then since 2007, I've been dabbling with startups, and I'll tell you a bit more about mine and Guy's relationship when we came together, a bit more productive than the Gallagher brothers, quite frankly, but we'll see.
Well, I think you've just put me to shame there, Ian. I'm just going to add a couple of things to what I said. It was a very brief intro. So I guess my background and where Ian and I met was we probably met, I'm guessing 10 years ago now, Ian, something like that, maybe a little bit longer. And Ian came in as a consultant at my previous company, Cake Solutions, and really helped effectively kind of professionalize our company and really get a tighter grip on everything, as Ian's intimated. He's a chartered accountant by trade, so everything financially he really kind of helped us with. So for the since 2001, which is when we formed Cake, for the following 17 years until 2017, I was obviously founder and CEO. Ian was a non-exec for the last 7 or 8 years of the company before it was acquired in 2017. And then since then, I've been working with a number of companies to help them with their kind of high growth strategy. And I'm also in the midst of setting up a couple of new ventures, one with a partner in sunny Derby and one in New York, so pretty diverse. So that's where I come from.
I mean, I don't think it's particularly sunny at the moment. I mean, it's raining cats and dogs in Manchester, to put it politely. So that's, I think, all we can really expect from the northern weather. So obviously you mentioned there, obviously, Cake and sort of some of our background there. I mean, I also happen to work at Cake, and we all transferred across. So obviously we're all at the Startup Factory now. So I don't know, do you want to describe a little bit about what we do? I mean, obviously you guys founded Startup Factory, so describe what our mission statement is here.
Perhaps if I give a little bit of history as to how it started, and then, Ian, you kick in with, the more recent stuff where I was still working for the acquiring company. So, the Startup Factory is a model that was born out of something that didn't quite happen by chance, but we stumbled across an opportunity and tried something, and it worked. So we came across two startups, and Cake worked with big companies. We didn't work with that many startups really, but we came across these two startups very close within sort of 3 or 4 months of each other. And they were both really interesting ideas, and we could see how they could solve a problem and the value they were going to add to that particular market. We also liked the people behind it. They were genuine experts in what they did. They came across really well. And we felt they had all the attributes they needed to become successful entrepreneurs. And, like a lot of startups, they've got a friends and family kind of fundraise. But again, like a lot of startups, they just didn't have enough capital to do what they needed to do. So, what we didn't want to do was not be involved with these two companies because, as I've said, we really like the ideas, we really like the people. So we tried to think of a way to make it work. And the way to do that was to take part cash payment for the work that we were going to do, i.e. build the tech product, because that wasn't their specialist area, and take a small stake in their company in return for the shortfall in cost of delivering this particular project. And we did that, and overall it worked really well. It's like anything, there was ups and downs, but ultimately we built some really kind of leading edge actually products, and we felt that had legs. That idea, that model where a founder would come in, tremendous domain experience, but just didn't have all the cash or all the know-how to build out their idea. So we formed something called Cake Invest. Now, as we formed Cake Invest, the Cake was acquired, and there was probably an 18-month period of negotiations and everything else that went on. And it was kind of the idea was just put to one side. And that's really where, after the acquisition, Ian kicked in and came up with a new brand. And, the full business model for TSF was born. Ian, do you want to take it from here?
I was going to say, not just came up with the idea, but stole the Factory Records logo.
Can we edit that bit out? I think. But no, that's true. I mean, I'd been kind of dabbling around startups, and then kind of met Guy, and really I was inspired by Guy's journey. I mean, prior to that, I'd spent the best part of 15 years working in the PLC, and got some, medals and scars from that. But really with Guy, it was my kind of first kind of co-founder collaboration with Cake Invest. And I really enjoyed the chemistry, the trust, and kind of the energy. And so when we exited from Cake, and I kind of took Cake Invest as a concept, as James has just said, I was kind of really kind of motivated, inspired by Factory Records and the whole Manchester thing. The fact that I was arrested once at the Hacienda has got nothing to do with it, but I think it's the Mancunian attitude and the people, people at Factory Records like Wilson, Gretton, Hannett and Saville. And then in Manchester, we've got people like Alan Turing, Engels and Lowry. Manchester's a vibrant place that's got so much, positive entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, there's 16 Nobel Prize winners that come out of university. If you go onto Sackville Street, the original university building, there's just some amazing names: Rutherford, Bohr, Chadwick, and then of course we've got graphene in 2010. So yeah, the startup factory took the kind of the spirit and the attitude and the entrepreneurial flair of Manchester, and like I say, inspired by Guy's approach to technology and business, culture and marketing, and the lessons we'd learned from the couple of startups we'd worked with originally, we thought we'd have it a go ourselves. So yeah, TSF was a startup itself, and kind of embodied all the challenges and opportunity that had. But for me, I was just curious about creating something that we could just give other people an opportunity, that they had ideas, they had creativity. They just didn't have some funds, and we were in a position to do this sweat equity model to help them realise their visions. Really,
I think getting arrested in the Hacienda is a badge of honour, isn't it, in Manchester? Ian?
Yeah, well, it wasn't just me. There was about 300 other people, and I was innocent, honest, gov.
They're all innocent.
Recommendation from Manchester. I mean, the only thing we don't have is a beach, to quote. Was it the gallery of that? But I mean, obviously there are downsides to Manchester. We do still have Manchester United here, but ignore that for now.
Well, I was going to say, I was born within 5 miles of that place, but fortunately my parents emigrated to Lancashire, and that blight was removed, although it's still on my birth certificate.
It's in Salford anyway, and it's not even Manchester, so it's fine. So, I mean, I think if anyone ever, and people are invited to come at any point, but if people come to our office, we've tried to make the office embody a little bit about what we're about, which is tech product entrepreneurs, startups, and the Northwest. And, if you come to the office, you'll see shout outs to all the music scene, the sporting scene, the tech scene, and our history. So it'd be really cool if anybody listening gets the opportunity to go to the Manchester Tech Centre, and as long as somebody's in there, which is a lot of the time now. Everybody, we're moving back into the office. Then they're welcome to just literally pop in. We've got a coffee machine, a good quality coffee machine. Sit down, have a coffee, have a walk around the office, and have a chat to us. If you've got a tech product startup idea that you want to look into and just see whether it's something that's potentially viable and you want to take forward.
Yeah, we have
is Bez's Maracas.
Just what we've got 6 album covers on the wall in the office for those of you that are listening, and we have a music test. So you have to kind of know your Manchester music.
So, I mean, obviously from that, you guys have both got ample experience in the startup world, both tech and in other fields, obviously with Cake, what you've done previously. And so why is it now that you guys have kind of decided to share your stories and do the podcast and what TSF does?
I think it's because, quite frankly, we need to eat our own dog food. So, some of the things that I used to do at Cake and I've talked about since on various blogs. You'll see them on the journal page of the Startup Factory website, tsf.tech. I'm a big proponent of doing things differently. And, one of the things we successfully did at Cake was that we didn't hire a sales team. And that didn't stop us. And actually, I think we probably did way better than if we'd hired a sales team, because we took a slightly different view on things. We quite frankly didn't want to run a sales team. No one in the company had the appetite to do that, probably the skill set to do that. So we looked at how we could push ourselves out there. And actually, a bit like the whole Startup Factory idea and Cake Invest idea, it's something that kind of happened organically. So our CTO, Jan, was, forever doing experiments, looking at new technologies, which is, a key aspect of his role. And he used to blog about them right in the early days of when blogs were a thing. And prior to that, we'd written several books on various technologies that, we specialized in. And, all of these things that we did demonstrated expertise, so that when we're in front of a client, and normally the client who contacted us rather than us contacting them, then we didn't have to. The question about expertise was never a thing. We'd already cracked that. And really, it was a case of then sitting down with them and talking to them about the commercials. And if we got the commercials sorted, then and got the project scheduled in, then we could just go ahead with it. So that kind of expert content generation worked really well. And we turned what we did, we didn't just rely on Jan in the end. We spotted that as an opportunity. We started winning business on the back of some of Jan's blogs and some of Jan's conference talks. And we're talking, significant pieces of business, 7-figure sum projects. And, we thought, well, we need to multiply that. So what we tried to do then is we purposely built a culture at Cake that one of the main aspects, and the culture is actually a whole different podcast. So we can talk about all the elements that are involved in building a really fulfilling culture and a cultural platform. We can talk about that in another time. And we'll talk about marketing at another time in a bit more detail. But we tried to emulate what Jan did, and we encouraged the team to build personal brands. And that is how we multiplied our message across the internet. We used all the platforms, the social media platforms, to push it out there. And it gave us a huge voice in what was quite a niche technology area. And it was really successful for us. So, the podcast really is an extension to that kind of idea that we had at Cake, that we're moving into the Startup Factory. Ian's done blogs ever since I've known him. Every week without fail on a Monday morning, Ian
on the lighthouse
writes him. Sorry, James.
So from the lighthouse it comes.
From the lighthouse it comes, and the blog's really interesting and different, and it's always a good read. And then I've started more recently in the last 4 months now writing weekly blogs. So the podcast is a natural extension to that. And then in addition to that, we have a book coming out later in the year. So probably sort of October, November time, we've got a blog that is aimed at our target audience, which is tech product entrepreneurs. And we're hoping that the the expertise that and the experience that we've written about in there will help tech product entrepreneurs and inspire them, and just help them perhaps not make quite as many mistakes as we made, or not the same mistakes as we made along the way. And hopefully it'd be very, very useful. So, the podcasts and the blogs that come from the podcasts really will be a prelude to the book. And then from the start of next year, then we're going to bring in guest podcasters. So we're going to bring in our extended network. So really interesting people who've helped us along the way, and they'll share their expertise. And again, I think that'll be an incredibly useful resource for tech entrepreneurs.
Yeah, a couple of things really to add to that. I think, Guy talked about eating our own dog food. Guy's actually been like a dog with a bone on these podcasts, but quite rightly. I think Guy's been innovative around marketing, branding, and personalisation, has really pushed this. I've seen enough people walking down Oxford Road with those small white things in their ears to realise this is a great way of kind of getting your marketing message out there and reach. I think it enables you to put your personality in. I much prefer writing. I've got a voice for radio, so a face for radio rather than a voice for radio. But overall, I think it's just part of that modern marketing messaging and the whole platform, which I think for startups gives you a reach through the internet and an ability to broadcast your message and create those connections to your target audience in a way which is people are now listening rather than reading. We kind of went from books to the Kindle, and now we've gone to podcasts. And to be sure, if Peter Crouch can do one, I'm sure we can do one too, fellas.
Peter Crouch, Joey Barton, all the footballers are getting on it these days.
Yeah.
Actually quite good. Yeah.
I actually do have a secret ambition, and again, I don't think I've ever disclosed this to you, Guy. When I was at university, I played bass guitar in a Clash tribute band called the Haddock Brains. So if I can now get something out on iTunes and Spotify, the band may get back together as well. So,
I'd love to see. I'd pay good money to see that in. You on lead guitar, brilliant.
Haddock Brains now. That's a story, definitely.
Get back to the script.
So obviously, Guy, you mentioned that we really want to inspire tech entrepreneurs to do their thing, generate these businesses, which a lot of them, obviously, with the world as it is, has probably been affected by, and be able to really stimulate that growth. But is it just tech entrepreneurs that can really benefit from sort of this podcast or the book that you mentioned, or is anyone got?
No, I think actually. Any budding entrepreneur, this is squarely aimed at startups, and there are tech elements for sure, but there are a huge amount of takeaways, I believe, for any entrepreneurs. This kind of marketing philosophy. Cake was doing this probably 12 years ago now. 10 years ago, we started that journey on demonstrating expertise through blogs, but prior to that, we'd done books. So those are the kind of snapshots that can be applied to any kind of organisation. So I think there'll be a huge amount of useful stuff coming out from the lessons we've learned along the way, and the mistakes, which are many, that we've made along the way. Then everybody will benefit from that.
Ian, is there anything you want to add to that? Or
no, I think like I said, I think the journey that me and Guy have been on, and what we're trying to do here, is just trying to share our experience and share some learning points. I think there's no kind of right way. There's obviously lots of models and methodologies we use at how we build our startups, but I think we're very firmly based in tech, and most businesses these days have a tech element. But yeah, I think certainly we're going to talk through this series and then the book about people, culture, and process and marketing, which Guy brings a lot to the table too. So it's not just about tech. I think for me the biggest thing about startups is learning, being curious, making mistakes, not being afraid to make experiments. So hey, we'd be more than happy to talk to anyone over a brew. If we really like you, we'll take you for a pint to the Lasagowry, pub behind the office. But yeah, we're very much community-based, which again is something I've learned from Guy about how to operate in the open source environment that Kate worked in, about sharing and being a proactive part of the community. So again, just back to that Manchester spirit, we want to kind of create hotspot and some energy and some forward movement for people who've got an idea. If it's tech, we can definitely help you. If it's not tech, we can just show you some of our experience and help you learn and give you some signposts, I think.
Obviously, when we do our consequent podcasts, it won't just be Ian and Guy. We've got a lot of experts in the team, whether it's people like Alexa, who are our CTO, or Eric, our head of engineering, sort of really trying to help people and push them, whether it's to tech startup or, like Ian said, just a startup, and at least trying to help you avoid some of the pitfalls and mistakes that we've made over the years and really push you in the right direction. So I think as a final point just for this podcast, if someone was to come and say to you, what is it one real learning point that someone took from this podcast, or sort of the consequent series of podcasts that we'll do, is there one particular takeaway or one piece of advice that you really want people to get from this?
I think be resilient and don't give up. It won't work first time. It won't be linear. There'll be pivots. You'll have to go back and restart and change. But I think being resilient and being tenacious and kind of having that forward view, believe in yourself, give it a go. I think you look at the average age of a successful entrepreneur in the UK, believe it or not, is 44. We all think it's kind of a tech geeky boy and girl duo at 20 doing something digital. But I think it's never too late. Just if you've got that fire in your belly, give it a go and have that can-do attitude.
And I think my kind of parting shot is that I believe that don't believe everything you read in the media. This is a great time to start a business, in my view. What the pandemic's actually done is, or any kind of situation like this, it creates opportunity. And I think the opportunity here is that tech has been moved forward at least 5 years, and people have been forced into doing stuff like using Zoom and Microsoft Teams and video conferencing tools like that to have meetings and not have to travel as much, to be able to work from home more, to embrace a lot of the software as a service opportunities that are out there, whether that be, accounting systems, HR systems, project management systems. People are moving online very quickly because they've had to. That in itself has created huge opportunities in the tech world. One of my startups in particular is based on that kind of idea. Not one for today, but it's embracing the changes that have been forced on us over the last 12 months and making the most of that kind of opportunity. So and I think the other key one is, I just want to reiterate something that Ian said, that one of my favorite words for entrepreneurs is tenacious. You have to be tenacious. You've got to accept the fact that not everything will go right. You've got to think about how to solve those problems. You can't bury your head in the sand. But for people who are tenacious, who have a good idea, and who really work hard, and that's another key element. You've got to be able to really put everything into this. Then you've got a very good chance of being successful.
It's funny that the words tenacious and resilient are also the ways I'd sort of describe being a fan of the football teams we support, being Burnley and City over the last couple of decades. So, no, thank you very much, guys. And is there any sort of last thoughts you really want to put across before we wrap things up here? Yes,
episode 2 will be better than episode 1. Tune in.
Like Star Wars.
Are we not in it then, Ian?
We're just the warm-up acts.
Right, well, thanks very much, Ian and Guy.
Cheers.
Thank you, James.
I think that just about wraps things up here. If you have any thoughts or questions on anything we said today, get in touch, whether that be through our Twitter @RealTSF or email at hello@startupfactory.tech, or feel free to drop in for a coffee and a chat. As ever, thanks for listening.